Assalamualaikum to our beloved lecturer Dr. Jauriah binti Shamsuddin. We are from Group 11 and today we are going to present our case study on the topic ethical issues arise in Foodpanda, which is labour exploitation. I will begin with the assessment on the executive summary, which conclude the overall summary of what we are going to point it in this case study. First of all, this assessment provides an in-depth investigation of the legal and unethical action that has been performed by a company that provides food delivering services in Malaysia. We'll be focusing on how they perform unethical practices towards their food delivering riders. Next, we will analyze the issues and provide ethical ideas that are relevant to the case, and on the final of this presentation, we will finish with the conclusion toward this case study. For the next section, case summary. On this case, we were to identify what are the main issues, which are the ethical issues involving labor exploitation and business ethics from the company Foodpanda Malaysia. The definition of labor exploitation is when workers are forced to do their jobs for less than the full value of the things they generate. Why these unethical issues matters? Because if company ignore labor exploitation, it can create mental and emotional suffering from the individuals involved, as well as damaging the reputation and job status. Company's reputation can also be downgrading and resulting in a drop in sales and income. Foodpanda Malaysia must remove this unethical action in order for them to succeed, and also for them to avoid legal repercussions that can come from unethical decision. I will pass to the next presenter.
Okay, I will present about analyze issue. The ethical issue is that Foodpanda changed their payment scheme. According to News Free Malaysia today, the new method of payment structure eliminate the system of paying rider by the hour. Okay, the rider of Foodpanda will instead be compensated for each order that they deliver. Furthermore, their payout per order would be raised from RM4 to RM7. Okay. Previously, riders were paid RM4 per hour, which extra compensation is made for every order based on their performance. Additionally, riders who work for 60 hours per week are eligible for 100 award for additional commission or money. Okay, 17 does the managing of director of Foodpanda indicate that the new method payment would be should be helpful and will allow rider to earn up to 50% more, since they would be get money based on their number of delivery for each hour. Rider would need to make at least 275 deliveries for every month to get minimum pay 1,100. Okay, this will burden a rider because they only get lower pay, so they have to work overtime to get more money. Because of this case, many of the rider to have to boycott because they complain about unfair treatment, a lack of financial safety nets, like employees provide funds, or so is social security organisation. Okay, then for the other ethical issue is so announced subsidy for Foodpanda riders. The government facility exploitation subsidy, social security payments also for food delivery employees hired by these firms that use labor law gaps to avoid paying healthcare benefits. The problem here is the necessity to create a social protection framework for this rider, which includes them with EPS also and EIS. Okay, EPF stand for Employees Provide Funds, while EIS refer to Employment Insurance Schemes. Okay, this is the nature of the company to provide for their employee. But for this case, the company avoid paying for or provide for them. Okay, so for this case, the government should step down to make something, to find a way of the interest for employee or a rider. Okay, and then labor rights organizations, the group have filed lawsuits for force government to recognize gig labor as formal employments and compare this middleman service provide to pay for social benefits. Okay, according to the economists, Grab and Foodpanda were able to avoid paying social security because lawmaker failed to act in the best interest of employee. Neither Grab or Foodpanda issue a rebate on Perkeso subsidy. Company have also reacted to regulatory requests by claiming to provide employees, despite the facts that multiple research on informal labor have revealed the most gig worker prefer steady position. Okay, that's all for me. Then I will pass to the next presenter.
Okay, for this slide, I'll be presenting on theory of justice. Based on the ethical issues committed by Foodpanda Malaysia, there are a variety of ethical theories that can be applied to this issue, and one of them is theory of justice. The creator or the pioneer of this theory, named John Rowe, describes that this theory believes every person on this earth has an equal right to the fundamental liberties. Therefore, everyone should be having an equitable right to the every available opportunity and an equal chance as other individuals with the same ability. To add, this theory has three types of justice, namely distributive justice, retributive justice, and compensatory justice. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Moving on to the next slide, let us start with distributive justice. This type of justice requires the presence of justice in the distribution of benefits and burdens fairly. The new payment scheme is considered unjust to the riders as they will receive less income. This is because under the new scheme, riders will no longer be paid based on working hours. Instead, the riders will be paid based on the number of orders that they accept. This new payment scheme will affect riders who reside in area other than Klang Valley, as the customers outside the said area are little in number, which leads to less number of orders to be received by Foodpanda riders, then resulting in less money earned. This is against the distributive justice theory, where the allocation of benefits and burdens are not being distributed fairly, as it seems that this new scheme will only impact Foodpanda riders outside Klang Valley. This portrays that the distribution of burdens and benefits are not distributed evenly, as riders outside of Klang Valley are the ones who will face the substantial drawbacks in terms of generating less income due to the new payment scheme imposed. Right, for this theory, we will apply compensatory justice. Concept is also applicable to this Foodpanda issue as it requires a just compensation for wrongs or injuries. It is also requires restoring to a person what a person lost when she or he was wronged by someone. To apply compensatory justice concept on this unethical issue, it is undeniable that Foodpanda irresponsibly introduced and decides to maintain the new payment scheme that is unfair to riders outside Klang Valley due to lack of customers, especially outside urban areas. However, Foodpanda also reassured that under this new scheme has provided with new incentives payment to compensate the decrease in income for substituting the old payment system where Foodpanda Foodpanda riders are entitled to 100 ringgit upon completing 16 hours a week. And to add, Foodpanda also compensate the riders with additional Rm1 ringgit for every delivery accomplished between the time range of 11 p.m. to 9 a.m. Foodpanda management, in an attempt to ensure a just payment to riders, they come out with a new plan where the increase in the commission fee from previously riders will receive Rm5 ringgit, but now rider will receive up to Rm7 ringgit. This increase is in amount of commission fee is perceived to fulfill the compensatory justice theory. That's all.
According to the ethical issues occurring by Foodpanda Malaysia, there is also another theory that can be applied toward the issues, which is theory of rights. The theory of right is one of the key elements in the 5-item ethical viewpoints that deem vital in the knowledge of moral business activities, according to the most important part of business ethics. The rights theory is founded on ideas of justice and rights, which see moral leadership as incorporating fairness and equality, and respect for individual rights. Employees' rights and ethical standards are primarily the responsibility of the employer, while employees are on duty. Employees ought to have favorable working conditions, and companies should never expose employees to humiliation for the sake of corporate profit. Regarding the issues occurring towards food delivery workers, especially Foodpanda, is that the company itself is avoiding to pay for healthcare benefits. The issue here is the necessity to give these food delivery workers a social protection mechanism, which includes EPF, SOCSO, and EIS. Before we go further about the issue, we should know that in this era of COVID-19 pandemic, these pre-hailing workers, especially food delivery workers like Foodpanda, despite the fact that they play a key role in ensuring that the food delivery and service sectors remain operational throughout the pandemic, they have had their rights severely violated. There are still plenty of food delivery workers whose labor rights are not protected in the event of an emergency. Rather, they must take personal actions to defend their rights. Many of their rights have been denied, but the law fails to side with them. However, the government is facilitating exploitation by subsidizing social security contributions for food delivery workers employed by digital corporations that misuse labor regulations to avoid paying healthcare benefits. The government must legislate compelling these gig economy companies to make EPF, SOCSO, and EIS contributions on behalf of their employees. This ensures that the mass give and take mechanism can function, allowing Foodpanda workers to enjoy equal rights without discrimination, whether legal or due to their working conditions, and to engage in effective collective bargaining with their employers. We will move to the next presenter.
One of utilitarianism flaws is in this ethical issue. Based on the ethical issue committed by Foodpanda Malaysia, the ethical theory that also can be applied to this issue is theory of utilitarianism. In a business setting, utilitarianism basically states that a decision on firm behavior is correct if and only if it gives the greatest good to the greatest number of people. Foodpanda hinted that the riders' streak against their new payment scheme was unrelated to them. Managing director of Foodpanda said the rider who did not want to work had give or altered their shift to other riders so that their revenue was not affected. This shown the theory of utilitarianism was not applying well in the Foodpanda. As to apply utilitarian theory to a business decision, a company should consider the following factors such as determining who will be impacted by the action in equation, analyzing the positive and negative effect of all alternative options, and selecting the action that will produce the best cost benefit and maximum social utility. The company just found the positive impact from the side and do not prepare the consequence from the side of the rider, and they believe that only the company will get the best cost benefit from the new payment scheme that have been imposed. Next, utilitarianism primary premise is that an activity is justified if it makes the greatest number of people in a society or group happy. This concept in the workplace is based on the idea that if you conduct well at work, you will be able to achieve professional happiness. If you make ethically sound decisions, your happiness will rise. Even though it is illegal, your happiness will suffer if you choose to do something morally wrong. From the case of the food panda, the government, according to critique of the gig economy, is promoting exploitation by so for food delivery workers hired by digital corporation that misuse labor regulation to avoid paying healthcare benefit by keeping the employment informal. In order to fulfill the utilitarianism theory that will ensure the happiness for the largest group of people, is a necessity to equip these workers with a social protection scheme which include EPF and SOCSO. Labor organizations around the world have filed lawsuits to compel middlemen service providers to pay social benefit by recognizing gig work as formal employment. Based on the situation, the rider will not acquire the professional satisfaction due to the denied the right to get the proper protection and benefit. Many gig workers still don't have their employment right protected in the event of an emergency. Rather, they must take personal measures to safeguard their right. Furthermore, just like as motorbike maintenance, food delivery bag, and even corporate company clothing must be borne by the employees. Due to these matters, we can see the theory of utilitarianism are not applied well in the food panda. Aside from that, utilitarianism is a moral idea that argues that in any situation, the ethically proper course of action is the one that provides the greatest balance of benefit to harms for all persons involved. Utilitarianism is indifferent about whether a course of action maximizes benefit for all parties involved, as long as the gains are obtained by deception, manipulation, or extortion. Okay, that's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter, Arif Hakimi, to carry on the presentation.
Thank you. So I will continue to the conclusion. The ethical issue in this case is Foodpanda has changed their payment structure. The new payment structure eliminates the hourly payment scheme for every riders. So many riders has complained about this unjust treatment and a lack of financial safety nets such as EPF, SOCSO, suspension or ban if they cancel deliveries that are beyond their control. So there is three appropriate ethical theories in this case. First is theory of justice. Everyone on the planet has an equal right to basic liberties. Hence, everyone should have an equitable entitlement to every accessible opportunity and an equal chance as other people of similar abilities. Second is theory of right. Employees should be treated with the utmost respect, decency and protection from any sort of physical, emotional or psychological damage stemming from their work as described by ethical business practices. Employees' fundamental right, freedom and protection should be viewed as a moral duty rather than a coercive requirement under ethical leadership. Third is theory of utilitarianism. The ethical philosophy of utilitarianism emphasizes the relevance of result in defining what is right and wrong. The most ethical decision is the one that will result the greatest good for the largest number of people. So now I will continue to the ethical lesson that can be learned from this case. The employers are responsible for ensuring that workers' well-being is always a priority, and employees should always conduct themselves ethically when doing their tasks. It will create a more conducive, comfortable and harmonious working atmosphere if both sides can equally be ethical. As a result, both parties, especially employers, must put the ethical theories discussed in the previous slides into practice. That's all from us. Thank you.